ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him, and 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
The Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability.
RTD Live Talk. It's Friday night, the 7th day of the month of September, and I'm excited to have a guest join us tonight. And so I was attempting to do it earlier, but it wasn't available, but he made time to join us tonight. And so as I give it a second, this is my very first Friday night live stream, so it's a privilege and an honor to have someone join us tonight. And so I have a gentleman from Venezuela right now who's actually in the capital of Caracas with family and whatnot. And so he's, we're late tonight because we were having such a great conversation off air that I forgot to click record. So we're going to just have a little back and forth tonight. And if you have any new viewers or whatnot, feel free to chime in on the chat and let us know where you're watching us from. And then the number above my head is 1-833-LIVE-RTD. Feel free to call in and ask any questions in reference to what's happening in Venezuela. And as you guys know, I've covered Venezuela for several years now out of curiosity and just a love for those people there, because I feel like we have a lot in common. And when I see what's happening there, it really touches my heart. So I'm very honored to have someone willing to speak out and share his thoughts and views from the capital as we speak tonight. And it's 9:40 here, 9:40 there. So let me stop rambling, and I'm going to bring on our guest for this evening. So tonight we have a gentleman who is a crypto enthusiast, and so just prior to going live or talking behind the scenes, he was telling how cryptocurrency has really been a blessing to him, and it's gave him a lot of opportunities there in Venezuela. But Eduardo Gomez joins us tonight from Venezuela. Eduardo, how are you doing, my friend?
Hello there. I'm really excited and honored to be here in your program, Rethinking the Dollar, and hopefully we'll have a very good chat and speak of what's happening down here in Venezuela in respect to the dollar, the cryptocurrency scene, and how basically this country has been falling apart, but how there's a silver lining in the fact that we have right now the technology, decentralized currencies to enable the citizens, the population, to fight back and regain access to international markets, to international currency, and resist censorship.
Yeah, I do agree 100%. Now, before we dive any further, I have a gang of questions at the forefront of my mind, as well as we're going to wait till some viewers join us to get their thoughts and questions as well. But just let's go back a little bit. You're a younger gentleman, and so apparently you're from Venezuela. You're in Venezuela now, so you've witnessed a lot over your lifetime there. Give us a little bit about a little bit of hands-on experience over the last couple years, especially as the government has changed hands from your former president, Hugo Chavez, to the current gentleman, President Nicolas Maduro there. Give us a little bit of insight as to the similarities and differences, and just lay it down for us as far as the political things there. How is it now as opposed to back in the day?
Yeah, so I think this can be pretty much summarized as the government, Venezuela's president, Hugo Chavez, doing a public speaking. He was doing a live show, public speaking in 2004, and it came to his mind this brilliant idea to ask the central bank to give him like 4 billion bolivars, so that he could finance some public buildings or something he was thinking about doing. So this crazy guy, this Hugo Chavez guy, he basically asked his political party, which was at the time in control of the Senate, a law that could enable him to ask the central bank for financing, because like in a lot of countries, a government has to limit itself to a budget, right? So when a government just spends more than they can afford, you have things like inflation, like devaluation, currency devaluation, all sorts of crazy shit like that. So Hugo Chavez in 2004, he had this crazy idea of asking the central bank for more money to finance his public buildings or whatever idea he was thinking about at the time. And his political party delivered. They passed a law to allow the president to ask the central bank as much money as he wanted, and through political manipulation and through shady dealings and basically his government infiltrated every institution that the country had, allowing him and his political party to take control over the country. And then flash forward 2012, 2014, we saw the crash in oil prices. We saw in 2009, where we saw the crazy recession, the economic depression that the world started to experience. And then things started just to go downhill for Venezuela. Hugo Chavez got away with all his crazy shit, mainly because he had so much money to throw around. Venezuela experienced the greatest influx of money in his whole history, thanks to oil. And Venezuela has the greatest oil reserves in the world. And this great influx of money allowed him to basically pay everyone and bribe everyone, and he took control of the country. So flash forward 2014, Nicolas Maduro, Chavez got a cancer, he passed away, and then he left everything to Nicolas Maduro, who took control of the country, and he just started doing the same thing that Hugo Chavez did, but just like twice worse. He basically started doing the same thing, taking control of the central bank, and things started to the monetary base, the amount of circulating money, supply money just went through the roof, and now we're experiencing the highest hyperinflation in our history. And now Venezuela has the highest inflation rate in the whole world, and the Monetary Fund expects that for 2019 Venezuela will have a 1,000,000% inflation rate.
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. I'm sorry to cut you off. Now 1 million inflation rate. Us up here in the northern part of this hemisphere, we talk about 2% inflation, 3% inflation on this side of towns. We really can't grasp what it means to have 1,000,000% inflation. What does that? What does that feel like? What does that mean?
Well, I understand it's really hard when I talk about these topics with foreigners, especially with U.S. citizens. You guys don't seem to be able to grasp what's going down here, because it's just so alien to hear about hyperinflation. Hyperinflation is an economic term that is pretty much outdated. Hyperinflation has not happened in the world since since Zimbabwe, and that was a crazy example, because we had things like in Hungary, hyperinflation, in Poland, and that was decades ago. Hyperinflation in Venezuela means that whenever I go to a McDonald's and I want to eat a burger, I may pay like 20 million bolivars, and next day the same burger costs 25 million. Or I go to a Subway and I want to eat a sandwich, and turns out now the government took 5 zeros off the currency just to hide hyperinflation. And Hugo Chavez back in 2000, I don't remember exactly the day, but Hugo Chavez already made such a monetary conversion where he took 3 zeros out of the currency. So during the last 20 years, the Venezuelan government has taking 8 zeros off the currency because the inflation has been so high. So if I want to eat a sandwich in Subway right now, I may pay like 500 bolivars, just because they took 5 zeros off the currency.
Yeah.
And today I had to pay 550 to eat a 15 centimeter sandwich.
Yeah.
Like
now,
half of the.
Quick question: Is your hand near your microphone?
Yeah. Sorry.
Because I got the speaker up loud, so when you move it echoes and statics a lot. So, but I want to touch on that further now. When we were talking last night, you mentioned about coming into Caracas, driving down the freeway. You saw a paper. Tell us what's that about.
Yeah. So I was the day before yesterday. I had to make a trip. So I took a cab and we were driving via the main Caracas highway, and we were seeing, my girlfriend and me, we were seeing literally bills of money that, ironically enough, are not even that old. We're talking about note bills that the government introduced back in 2017, because the inflation was getting away. The inflation was just so high, and they had to increase they had to release a new bill, a new currency bill, note bill with a higher denomination. So we were seeing literally people throwing these old bills in the streets because they were worthless, Yeah. And the driver of the cab was telling me that this has been a constant thing over the last couple of weeks since the government, started doing the monetary conversion to remove 5 zeros out of the currency, and all people, third age people like grandpas, grandmothers, they have it worse because removing 5 zeros out of the currency means that old people have a hard time, doing math when they're trying to shop. My girlfriend's grandmother was having a hard time letting go of the bills that she had in her hand because she didn't know how much they were worth. And I was telling her, sorry, that those bills are not worth anything right now because.
Now, let me ask you a question. So you're referring to the bills that Maduro. I know it was I think last January, they came out with the Bolivar Forte. So we talk about Bolivar Forte notes that she's having a hard time getting rid of in exchange for the sovereign Bolivar, not the new one. Yeah. So
Bolivar Forte or strong Bolivar, that will be the literal translation. Strong Bolivar was a term that the government coined some years ago to basic as a marketing thing,
So
they removed it.
Similar to what's going on now with the sovereign Bolivar as a marketing employee, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's another thing. There's another important thing that is happening with this new currency. So the government is saying that the Bolivar will be pegged to the Petro, which is the country's cryptocurrency. So 3,600 bolivars, sovereign bolivars, will be equal to 1 Petro cryptocurrency unit. But the minimum wage will not be 1,800. Okay, so that will be half a Petro.
Yeah.
The government is pricing. The government claims that 1 Petro is worth $60, which is roughly 1 barrel of oil.
Yeah.
Right. So the monthly salary will be half a barrel of oil, which is $30. So the government literally went and increased the minimum wage down from $1, because the minimum wage was pretty much $1.
And that's for the month. Correct?
For a month of work, yes.
A month of work, $1.
Imagine, $1 per month of work. And the government raised that to $30 per month. So who's going to pay for that? Private companies cannot pay those wages. The government said that they're going to assume the payroll for all workers, even in private companies, while this transition is taking place. So imagine that the U.S. government says, yeah, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $20 per hour, and since companies cannot pay for that, we're going to pay for that because we're going to print more money. Can you imagine that? It's jack shit. But the crazy thing is, even crazier than that is that, they're pegging the Bolivar to the Petro, and the Petro does not even exist.
Now you say you say it doesn't exist. According to all the mainstream media coming out of Venezuela from your president, he says that the Petro is. I have a lot of curiosity. I question it big time because there's no details other than the fact that it's there already. So what's the internal word? Like, what's the internal word? So does the citizens know that there's no real Petro coin yet, or what?
So they're using Petro as a marketing thing. And they're using it basically to, what the government wants to do with this Petro thing is to monetize. Venezuela has the biggest oil reserves in the world, right? But the oil production has declined dramatically. Like at the beginning of the year 2000, just shortly when Hugo Chavez arrived to the presidency, Venezuela was producing 3 million barrels of oil per day, 3 million. And the main oil company called PDVSA had 40,000 workers. So 40,000 workers were producing the company had 40,000 workers in this payroll, and they were producing 3 million barrels of oil per day. Nowadays, right now, Venezuela's oil production is 1.2 million barrels of oil per day. That's more than a 50% reduction in production, right? Yeah. And the crazy part is that PDVSA, the oil company, right now has a payroll of 400,000 people. So they increased by 10 the number of workers, but the oil production decreased by 50%. Do you really want to invest in a cryptocurrency that is supposed to express the barrels of oil for a company that has decreased production by 50% or by more than 50% and hired 10 times more people? Wow. Is that a wise investment decision? Right. I don't think so. So the end game, the objective, the goal of the government with this Petro thing is to monetize the oil reserves that they cannot extract because no one is willing to invest in Venezuela. No one is willing to start an oil production thing down here in Venezuela. Foreign companies like ConocoPhillips, which were like 10 years ago, they were critical to the success of the company's oil production strategy, and they were providing services for oil industry. ConocoPhillips facilities were forcefully acquired by the government, and they don't even to this day they haven't even paid them. And Conoco is now suing the government because the government didn't pay them, and the Venezuela's government owes them $2 billion. So ConocoPhillips is trying to take anything that they can from the government, from the Venezuelan government. The Venezuelan government risks having its oil refineries in the U.S., namely, the company Citgo, which is pretty popular down there in the U.S. actually in Miami, places like Miami. So Citgo is 49% of Citgo is owned by the Russians, and the U.S. government will never allow Russia to take over what is mainly what equals to 1% of the refinery capacity of the U.S. oil refinery capacity. The U.S. will never allow that. So the U.S. is setting up the ground to allow ConocoPhillips to take those assets because Venezuela owes ConocoPhillips $2 billion. So a lot of shit is happening down here. A lot of crazy things are happening, and the government is trying to get away. The government is trying to monetize those assets that are, sitting there in the ground. They cannot extract, they cannot get the financing, and they basically they want free money. They're like doing an ICO, like an initial coin offering.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who coined the term, my friend Alejandro Machado, who coined the term initial country offering. That's what the government is trying to do. They're trying to sell tokens to represent barrels of oil that don't exist. That they're underground. They're never going to see the light of day. So the government is just desperate trying to access funds to get financing and to circumvent U.S. sanctions, and the U.S. is not going to allow that.
Yeah. Now, so if you're a citizen there, you know that it's a bunch of hogwash. It's a bunch of BS about them not even having the infrastructure to get the oil out. So they're basically, as you said, they're doing initial claims on oil under the earth. Now, how long before it unfolds to where people realize the Petro is a farce, is not real? They're banking on future production or extraction before it then affects the new rollout of the sovereign Bolivar. And then also, after you answer that, I'm curious as to what's happening with the gold aspect.
Yeah, so the government, this idea of monetizing oil reserves or oil that they cannot extract, they're actually trying to replicate it for gold and for other minerals. The president said it himself. We're thinking about this Petro thing not only for oil reserves. Venezuela is is a country with a lot of natural resources, including coltan, including gold, diamonds. We have a lot of stuff, but extracting those minerals, those resources, require investment, require private investment, require research and development. There's the world's biggest oil reserves are sitting in the ground, and it's heavyweight oil. It's very difficult to extract. It requires new tech that has to be developed. It requires significant investment. The government is trying to expand this Petro idea to other resources such as gold and other minerals. They're trying to get financing for things that they cannot produce, that they cannot extract. And gold is a very important aspect of Venezuela, but not for the common citizen. But there's this state in Venezuela called Bolivar. Is a region where we have great gold reserves, and the gold extraction in Venezuela is mainly handled by desperate people who come to the mines, and they illegally extract gold from the earth, from the ground. Bolivar State is a very sad example of what's happening down here in Venezuela. The gold extraction is controlled by criminals, by cartels. These cartels are working alongside the government, alongside the military officers. And if you want desperate citizens, they cannot work normal jobs, because normal jobs just give you minimum wage, and you cannot live on minimum wage. So these people will go to the mines. They will catch infectious diseases like malaria, and we don't have the whole infrastructure to treat those people. So desperate citizens will come to these mines. They will extract gold, and they have to sell the gold to the cartels, and the cartels set the price. So the cartels. I was doing the math the other day. And if I'm not mistaken, the cartels were the price that they set was $700 per ounce of gold. And I believe the current price of gold is like $1,300.
Nope, it just dropped below $1,200. I saw today, but that's still
so the cartels.
Yeah.
So the cartels are.
No,
the cartels are getting a nice profit out of that, because the people have to sell them the gold at the price that they set, and then they extract that gold. They they smuggle the gold to sell it to Brazil because Bolivar is a border state with Brazil. So they will take out the gold and sell it there or sell it in Europe.
Interesting. Now, my question is, like, just recently, as of this past Monday, I saw a video where your President Maduro and his wife were the first in line for the Hora de Oro, the savings plan in gold. And so it looks like at the end of all that, they did the fingerprint stuff, whatever, and President Maduro held up a piece of paper that I guess was a certificate saying that he has gold in savings. Tell me about that. Is that something that is geared towards the illusion of getting back to sound monetary practices because he's holding up gold cards with the actual 1 gram, 1.5 gram, and 2.5 gram? What's that all about?
Yeah. So the gold thing is a plan by the government to incentivize the people, the Venezuelan citizens, to store the wealth with gold, right? A priori, it seems like a very good idea. Gold is an asset that it's immortal. It's been hanging around since forever. But it's a trap. Like anything that the government does or releases. It's a trap because the government, basically you're going to purchase these small bars of gold, which are like 1.2 grams or 2 grams or 3 grams. And when you purchase it, the government is going to give you certificates. The gold is going to be stored and it's going to be stored by the central bank. So do you really want to give your gold to the central bank that has caused the biggest hyperinflation in history?
Right.
Right. And it's going to be, and you will only be able to sell those certificates, those paper bills that they will give you. It's actually going to be paper, it's going to be, the certificates are going to be made with the same materials as bills, as cash.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So you will be able to resell and trade those certificates 2 or 3 months after your purchase, and you don't even gain interest by you purchasing that and storing them with the central bank. The central bank is not even going to give you interest on that because you're handing them your gold. So you expect them to give. You will expect for them to give you interest.
So is there any opportunity down the line for holders of that certificate to go in and redeem that certificate and withdraw their metal?
Sure. If I'm not mistaken, I've not dived into the details, but for what I read, you are going to be able to redeem those certificates 1 year after purchasing them. So you can redeem your gold after 1 year. So it's really a huge risk for you to purchase those certificates. Yeah. Because you're basically your money will be tied together for a couple months, and you depend on the government for protecting your gold.
Yeah. So what it sounds like that 1 year buys them 12 months for those that have the funds to acquire the gold, first of all, because I'd imagine a majority of the younger population is probably not interested because they're in the cryptocurrency. We're going to get into that in a minute. But I imagine, because I read something about pensioners, savers that probably have stacks and stacks of the old or the Bolivar Forte, they're trying to get rid of those. So they'll probably be willing to they'll loan the central bank their gold for a year. And the central bank has 1 year to make this work or not. Because them people, I got a feeling that after this year, they're going to find out that gold's not there.
Yeah. So this is all a plan by the government to try to make the population trust its currency again. The main characteristic, hyperinflations are mainly, obviously they're started by economic, by bad economic environments. Their hyperinflation is basically, it can be defined as the population lost of confidence in its own currency, in their own currency. Right now in Venezuela, that's the reality. People don't trust the bolivar. People will prefer to have a candy in their pockets, because the candy, you can eat it. First, you can eat it, and second, you can resell it. And it's not going to lose its value. Venezuela's currency is was devaluing by a rate of like 5% each day. Last time that I checked, and our economy is moved by the dollar right now. If you go to Facebook, and our country is basically running on WhatsApp, because people communicate between each other via WhatsApp. They sell things via WhatsApp. You purchase dollars via WhatsApp. You basically do anything with WhatsApp and Facebook. People use Facebook groups to sell stuff, to advertise like houses, like cars, and everything is priced in dollars. If you want to purchase a car, you have to pay for it with dollars, because people, or maybe you may get away. Maybe you can, if their seller, if someone is trying to sell you a car, it's likely that person is desperate because they need the money, or they have another business and they need the cash to invest that in another thing.
Now
so
how plentiful,
you may get away.
How plentiful are Federal Reserve notes in the country? I'm assuming it's a premium on being able to get those Federal Reserve notes, aka the dollar. So do a lot of people have Federal Reserve notes in their possession?
Yeah. You can even find the new bills, the 100 bills that have the blue thing, the blue, the blue security marks. You can even find the newest bills that are released by the federal bank. You can see those here. I purchased some dolls the other day, and they gave me one of those, and it was in mint condition.
Now, do you trust that it's authentic? Given the fact that environment, I'm assuming a lot of people could fall for counterfeits, because I'd imagine it's a big market for counterfeits.
But people have mastered the ability to check for fake note bills. Venezuelans are not stupid. They when you make a deal for when you sell something and you get paid with dollars, you have to make sure the bills are real. So our economy is running on WhatsApp, it's running on Facebook, it's running on dollars. People are sending stuff in dollars. If you want to sell your house, you will publish the listing in dollars. And the government is actually the government is attempting to decriminalize, because as of now it's a crime for you to sell stuff in dollars. They're slowly decriminalizing it, because they're trying to transition to a Cuban-like model where you have a convertible currency. Where you can change your currency for dollars or foreign currencies. Mainly because our country since 2003 or 4, I believe, has been a tight currency control mechanism where regular citizens cannot buy dollars, they cannot buy euros. Citizens cannot access international currencies. They're stick with the dollar. So naturally, a black market emerged, and this black market is ruling the country. People resort to the black market to purchase their dollars, and most trading of dollars is done peer to peer. Your neighbor, your WhatsApp groups of people selling dollars is a web of trust. It's a web of trust where if you have your friends who transact between each other, then you just resort to them to access currency if you need it. That's the situation here.
Okay, so I'm curious, and so as also for those that are just chiming in, I have a special guest who's currently in Venezuela. He's a Venezuelan citizen, famous Eduardo Gomez, and so he kindly decided to join us and share his experience as a Venezuelan citizen there in Caracas now. And so if you want to call in and ask a question, 833 Live RTD is the number if you want to call in and ask him a question directly. Or if you guys want to ask a question in the chat, feel free to do so. And so I saw one question over here, and the question was, can citizens actually go to a location somewhere and acquire physical gold or say silver coins? Is it stores, shops, anything like that there?
No. I mean, they have no. You have the people. You have actual physical stores that they buy your gold. They buy your, your pawn shops.
Yeah. The sign saying we buy gold. We buy gold everywhere in America.
Yeah,
we buy gold.
There's no way. There's no retail place. There's no mainstream way for you to purchase gold or silver. You may have to resort to collectors or people, gold bugs who are really into gold. And this is something that is mostly for rich folks, the 1% or people who are wealthy enough to be able to afford to purchase gold. Sadly, you cannot even, as a normal citizen in Venezuela, you cannot think about saving money. Savings is a foreign concept for the Venezuelans since 2014 or something, when things really deteriorated. Venezuelan citizens live on the edge. They live day to day, and by the end of the month, they don't have enough money to invest it in dollars or gold or silver or coins. There's no way for a regular citizen to purchase gold, sadly, not even cryptocurrencies.
Yeah. Now, that's another thing that I want to touch on, because, your background is you are an early adopter and an enthusiast, and you also, your line of work is cryptocurrency. So some questions here are ask him about Bitcoin. So you're more than aware about it. Give us your background. How did you first get involved, and how has it been a blessing to your life and your family? Give us your crypto rundown.
Sure. So I disclaimer, I'm not a rich guy. I did not make millions on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Even though I discovered Bitcoin in 2012, when back then it was $13 per coin. I was a freshman in college. I did not have money to purchase Bitcoin, nor not even a way for even if I had the money, I couldn't even do that because of the currency control mechanism in the country. Venezuelans didn't have like credit cards or anything international credit cards or something to be able to purchase things online. So I discovered Bitcoin in 2012, and at the time I had a GPU. An AMD GPU, and back then Bitcoin, you could mine Bitcoin with GPUs, and I started mining Bitcoin for a couple of weeks, and in a couple of weeks I mined 2 Bitcoin. At the time I was young, stupid, and I quickly forgot about Bitcoin. It piqued my interest because it was a way for me to save in foreign currency. But I was joining college, and I had a lot of stuff going on, so I didn't really pay attention to it. I was studying computer science or something very similar to computer science, and I stored those couple Bitcoin, and in December 2013, I got a flashback, and suddenly I remember when I was sitting on my computer, I remember, hey, I have a couple of Bitcoin. I actually have a couple of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing an ad. I was in I saw like a news piece that was saying that Bitcoin was peaking and it reached $1,000. So I logged in on MTGOX, and MTGOX, I actually managed to cash out my Bitcoin on MTGOX before it went downhill, and I cashed out my couple Bitcoin at $900 a piece, and I pretty much just spent those dollars. I cashed those to a PayPal account. And over the course of a year, I throw that away. I spend it online on a bunch of stuff, and I forgot about it again. And in 2000, and things were in 2014 to 2015. things were starting to deteriorate, heavily deteriorate in the country. And basically, I was, all my friends, programmers were they're desperately trying to work remotely. They were trying to do online tasks, anything via the internet to earn dollars. And I joined. I rediscovered Bitcoin once again. I joined Bitcoin Talk. I actually have a Bitcoin Talk account since 2012, back when I first discovered Bitcoin. And I started, digging through the forum, through Bitcoin Talk, finding opportunities, like things like even Twitter advertising, anything to earn Bitcoin. And I started to developing my skills with English, writing. And in 2016, I actually got a couple gigs as a freelance writer for several websites such as NewsBTC, The Merkle, Cointelegraph. I started writing about Bitcoin. I started to, delve deep into the technology, into the aspects, to the community, crypto Twitter, and I started working full time on Bitcoin. Doing menial tasks, such as in 2015 I was doing captchas. I was resolving 2,000 captchas per minute, just to make a living. I was earning like $100 per month, $200 per month, and a minimum wage in Venezuela at the time was less than $30. It was like $25 per month. So earning $200 per month in Venezuela was a rich guy's salary. Like corporate businessmen were earning that much in Venezuela back then. And I started, I started doing everything I could to find opportunities in the crypto world. At the end of 2016, I joined PERS, the cryptocurrency startup PERS, as a support guy. And I developed my skills, and over the course of that year, over the course of 2017, I actually I managed to get promoted to support manager. And right now, my interests are aligned with cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin. I did everything from working in crypto and BTC, from mining Ethereum, basically everything in this space to make a living of it.
Yeah.
Now, right now, and that allowed me to have savings, to plan for the future, and actually it allowed me to support my family to move out of the country. I have three brothers and two brothers and one sister that left Venezuela. They're now relocated in Uruguay. They have their families, they have their kids. Everyone, each one of my siblings are married. And I was able to financially support their move to Uruguay to find better opportunities, mainly because their jobs became irrelevant, earning less than $1 per month of work. It's just crazy. You cannot live out of that. So Bitcoin has really been a blessing, and sadly, right now it's really hard for a regular Venezuelan to access cryptocurrencies, mainly because of how low the salaries, the wages are. People cannot afford to even purchase Bitcoin because like a single transaction costs a lot of money, and before any altcoin guy says, yeah, but you can use Dash or you can use Bitcoin Cash. Yeah, you can use those, but the fees are still way too high for a regular Venezuelan.
Yeah.
If you make $1 per month, even $0.01 per transaction is way too high.
Now, watch this. On a side note, not to cut you off, but yet in the chat here, a lot of people are screaming Digibyte, because there's a big movement in the Western world or up here. The Digibyte is going to be the next big thing, and it's cheaper, but I assume just access to getting those is not probably as plentiful anyway. So, are there other alternatives floating around there that people do use?
Yeah, I mean the people that I know. So there are two main altcoins that are being shilled down here, if you will. Bitcoin Cash and Dash. The Dash Foundation actually supports several movements to they support a local Dash group here in Venezuela. You know, I'm not a fan of Dash or anything, but they actually do a pretty good job of advocating for cryptocurrencies and spreading the word about cryptocurrencies, even if it is from their shield Dash perspective. But that's the they actually have they held monthly conferences, and they do a lot of community outreaching. And then you have the Bitcoin Cash people who actually they are not so much outspoken. Like they don't have like monthly conferences or anything. But they also try to shield the currency down here. In reality, any effort to promote cryptocurrencies is fine by me. Even though like I said, I personal disclaimer, I only hold Bitcoin, I only hold Ethereum and Zcash. The other cryptocurrencies I don't really care about. They don't interest me. But there's the reality is that there is an excess of capital in the crypto world. There's millions of dollars being thrown around crypto. There's a lot of people with deep pockets that they want to show their own cryptocurrency. And if they start like throwing money around in Venezuela, I'm all for it. If the Dash people are actually giving paper wallets to Venezuelans with $1, $2 for every attendee of the conference, and that's great with me.
Now, is there a small community of say businesses down there that accept it and welcome it and have access to cell phones to be able to receive transactions? Is there like a small movement that might be forming to basically stabilize the...
Sadly, we're not yet. We're quite not yet there. People are not thinking about cryptocurrencies down here to transact. They're thinking about cryptocurrencies to save money. They're thinking about cryptocurrency to store the wealth, not to spend it. People want to spend Bolivars. They don't want to spend dollars. They don't want to spend cryptocurrencies. So cryptocurrencies in Venezuela are mostly for saving, as a store of wealth, as a store of value. That's what people care about. What the crypto economy is experience. What we're experiencing with crypto economy down here in Venezuela is people using local Bitcoin. And I'm not saying this because I'm endorsing local Bitcoin or anything. It's just because local Bitcoins is the only functional Bitcoin exchange in Venezuela. We used to have a very good Bitcoin exchange called Sir Bitcoin. Sir Bitcoin had they even had like instant fiat withdrawals. You could sell your Bitcoin and you could get your fiat out of the exchange in less than 10 minutes.
Really? And it would be deposited in your bank account?
It was a very liquid market where people were transacting, and this is why local Bitcoin started operating in, if I'm not mistaken, 2015, 2014. But sadly, it had to be closed at the start of 2017 because one of the operators of the exchange, the local operators, the support guy living in Venezuela doing the actual fiat transactions, he got arrested. He was actually the first person arrested for dealing with cryptocurrencies down in Venezuela. His name is Danilo Reyes, if I remember correctly. And he was the first person to be arrested for this in Venezuela. He got out of prison in like 6 months, alongside two other miners, Bitcoin miners. So at the time, we started seeing news and reports of police agencies in Venezuela raiding Bitcoin miners, raiding Bitcoin mining operations, and basically, it was not because the government had it was not because the government was crippling down in cryptocurrencies, it was because the high-ranking officers of those police agencies were trying to steal the mining equipment to mine them themselves. And
wow.
Yeah, then in 2018, basically pretty much on November of 2018, of 2017, and November 2017, when with these crazy Bitcoin rallies started to build up again, we started seeing news from the high-ranking government officials endorsing cryptocurrencies. They were speaking about how great cryptocurrencies are, how good Bitcoin is. No, guys, we don't want to steal your mining equipment. We want you to register in this central mining registry database, where we want you to give us your address. We want you to give you how much hash rate do you have, which currency you are mining. We just want that info to check up on you and make sure that we don't steal your equipment by mistake.
By mistake.
So.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically, the crypto ecosystem here is basically comprised of people transacting on local Bitcoin. Local Bitcoins. Local Bitcoin has become the niche place to transact with crypto, with selling your Bitcoin, purchasing Bitcoin, and one of the reasons why local Bitcoin searching forums is now becoming one of the references, one of the most prominent economic indicators in the currency in the country, is because we have a black market for dollars, right? And one of the problems with black markets is that they're not transparent. So there's no official stats. There's no transparency on how many dollars are getting transacted in this black market that arise because of the currency control mechanisms. And there's no way for you to to put a price on the dollar. Like if you have Bolivars and you want to purchase dollars, how much are you going to pay for the dollar?
Yeah.
And there's this website called Dollar Today, which became widespread popular here in Venezuela because it was a market. The website basically displayed how much Bolivars a dollar was worth. And it started to become a market reference. People were looking up to this page to see how much they could sell their dollars for. And the government made it very personal to try to fight this website. And the government was literally saying on public media that Dollar Today, this website, was the reason why the economy was going down.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's like that's like if Trump will blame CNN because the economy is going downhill.
Yeah,
that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the government was saying. So the reason why local Bitcoin is such a useful tool, not only for Bitcoiners, but for economists or regular citizens, is because you can see how many Bitcoins get transacted on local Bitcoins each week. You have that transparency. You can see how many Bitcoins are changing hands. You can see how much Bolivars people are paying for a Bitcoin, and through simple math, if you divide the price of a Bitcoin in Bolivars between the amount of between the price of Bitcoin in dollars, you get the Bolivar dollar rate. So people are looking up at this rate to price their dollars, and of course, cash like U.S. cash, USD cash is has a premium because it's cash. It's sold at a higher price here, but for like electronic bank transfers, you can look up the local Bitcoin to see what's the price of a dollar. So it's a very useful tool because of the transparency that is built in. and it's a very nice way to determine how much a dollar costs.
Yeah. Now let's shift gears a little bit, because a lot of people, I'm sure as well as myself, I'm curious because I see different stories. So from United States of America or any type of source, they'll tell us that everyone is starving in Venezuela, that every grocery store shelf is empty. Then I'll watch a BBC documentary not around the same time frame, and then they go in the suburbs outside of Caracas, and the grocery store looks like it's clean, got full shelves. So I mean, is it certain sections of the country is extreme worst case scenarios, or is that the majority of the country? Are some people eating good and some people starving, or
no? It's really difficult to explain this food situation. You have the problem is that the government forces businesses to sell certain goods at a certain price. Like we have price controls. So, like history has taught us, price controls don't work, because when you put a price, when you force something, when you force something to worth that much, it's prone to arbitrage. People will purchase it at the official price, and they will resell it at a higher price elsewhere. The truth is that if you go right now to a supermarket, you may find imported goods, a lot of imported goods like pasta, like rice, like tuna cans, but people can't purchase it because they're so expensive. If I go to a supermarket and I try to buy meat, it's very likely that they won't have meat. They won't have like chicken, which most people eat down here. So, in the suburbs, in the very poor regions, people actually, the business owners of very small mom and pop shops, they go to they go hunting for price control goods. They purchase it. They make long queues. Every day if you go to a supermarket, you will see long queues of people trying to access and purchase these low-priced goods, and they will then resell them in their neighborhoods for a higher price. There's definitely a shortage of several grocery goods. Meat, chicken. All of that is really it's hard to find sometimes. It's really hard, and it's very expensive. People, they have resorted to, eating fish that they can catch if they live off the coast. They have to resort to feeding their children just what we call here harina pan. Harina pan is corn flour. It's like a national treasure down here. We have kids eating just carbohydrates. In 10 years, 10 years from now, we'll check out the national statistics, and we will see that the people are shorter, or they're slender, because kids are not eating. They're not probably eating. They're just eating carbohydrates. They're not eating protein. They're not eating fat. They're not eating chicken. They're not eating meat. They're not eating fish. The parents have resorted to crazy tactics. On average, a Venezuelan has lost more than 10 kilograms of weight, like more than 15 pounds of weight over the last 5 years. Really desperate people are just crossing the borders, going to other countries, and finding work there, doing all sorts of jobs just to be able to afford food. Even more crazy and sad is just the health infrastructure down here. We're seeing crazy things like kids dying because they were playing and they scratched a knee and the knee caught an infection, and we don't have antibiotics, we don't have or healthcare system or hospitals They don't have the medicines to treat very basic things. You know, smallpox, something that was eradicated years ago, decades ago, is returning down here. We have infectious disease epidemics of Caribbean disease like Zika, which is a virus that is transmitted by mosquitoes. We had 4 years ago, we had a Zika outbreak. I even caught it myself, and it was awful. It puts you in bed, and all your muscles or your whole skeleton just feels, it's horrible. You feel like you cannot leave your bed. Yeah. We're seeing those things happening here. Malaria. We are seeing infectious diseases coming back. We're seeing diseases that were eradicated, diseases that were thought to be eradicated decades ago are coming back. That's the crazy thing, the health, the crazy state of our health infrastructure. Kids with cancer, we don't have chemo, we don't have radiation therapies, we don't have people with it's in Spanish is VAH. These very bad virus, HIV. I think you call it. You guys call it, right?
HIV. Yeah.
HIV. Venezuela has approximately 250,000 people with HIV, and these people cannot access antiretrovirals, which is the medicine that the people with this infection, with this disease, have to take in order to live more years. We don't have those things, Even people with diabetes, they have it very bad because they cannot access insulin. It's very expensive. Yeah. That's the saddest part. For me, that's the saddest part. Yeah. The only way out of this mess, unfortunately, is that a coalition of countries just make a humanitarian intervention in the country. People criticize the U.S. because they invade countries, and there's this narrative that the U.S. invades countries with oil and blah blah blah. I'm not one of those. I'm not one of those people who believe that the U.S. has made a lot of mistakes in the past, right? They have intervened countries where they shouldn't have. But in this case, in our case, it has become a real debate that we may see a humanitarian intervention in the next 2 years.
Yeah, the next 2 years.
Why? Well, because our country. It's really hard for a Venezuelan to explain a foreigner that our country is run by criminals. Like the nephews of the president were caught red-handed by DEA officers, agents, undercover agents, trying to sell drugs. They're using the presidential plane. They're using the presidential airports to smuggle drugs. Our country, or high-ranking military officers, they're drug dealing, they're gold smuggling, they're doing all those illegal activities, and you cannot fight against that. Like, there's no way that those guys will amicably leave the country, because they have it so good here. They're earning millions of dollars, doing illegal activities. They're not going to go away. Yeah. The only way for our situation to change is to have a very organized opposition, which at this time it doesn't exist. 5 years ago, we had a strong opposition political parties and politicians, but the government has infiltrated them. The government has dedicated a lot of resources to disrupt the political parties, the opposition political parties. And as of now, our political opposition is just dismantled, and the citizens are all by themselves. They don't have people to represent them. Yeah. And if there's a suitable candidate fight against the government will just inhabilitate them to run for elections. It's a common practice down here to inhibit political activists or people with good chances of earning a public election. They will just inhabilitate them from running. So
yeah,
it's very sad. It's very sad.
So let me ask you a question. So one thing I noticed a lot of just I guess I'll assume the people are brainwashed because Chavismo or Chavismo, if I'm saying it correctly, there's picture of Hugo Chavez everywhere in your country. And not long ago I was in Cuba, and there's pictures of Chavez in Cuba along with Castro and everybody else there. So I'm thinking like so it's a socialism is what, socialism, corruption, criminals is what you get, what they are. But the people seem to believe in it. And then the narrative we're hearing from your country is that it's the U.S. intervention, and then your president gets on stage and says that it's foreign affairs, it's an economic warfare against our country. That's the problem. So why are people so in love with Chavez?
I think it all comes down to a couple of things. First, he was a very charismatic person. He was someone who used his ability to transmit words very easily and transmit thoughts very easily. He took advantage of that. He also resorted to appearing as the worker class political candidate. He made himself appear as one more citizen and not just one, and not just the country's president. The other component to his success was the shit ton of money that he had to burn. Like I said before at the start of this interview, our country experienced the highest influx of money thanks to oil reserves and high oil prices. He had a lot of money to burn. He had a lot of money to spend. If you have a lot of money to spend on political campaigns and on public and on social programs, you will earn you will earn people's trust. That's a reality.
Yeah.
However, the problem with Hugo Chavez was that all of his investments in these social programs were destined to fail because he didn't plan for the future. He planned on him staying in power. He planned on him becoming an eternal leader like Fidel Castro. Actually, when Hugo Chavez was running for presidency back in the 1999s, he said that Cuba was a communist. Cuba was a communist country, and that he didn't want anything to do with them. He actually said those words, and then 3 years later, he betrayed his own words, and started traveling to Cuba and doing crazy stuff. But the big picture here, is he also made good relationships with other leftist governments in the region, like Bolivia, with Morales, Bolivia's president, Rafael Correa, which was until recently Ecuador's president, Brazil with Lula Silva, which is now in prison because of his corruption dealings, Dilma Rousseff, which was Lula's successor, Mujica, which was this ex-military man who fought in the guerrillas in Uruguay. So basically, there was this alignment of planets where all these leftist leaders took power, to control the countries in South America. Chavez started spending a shit ton of money in political campaigns in all of these countries. Actually, there's a very famous corruption case where Hugo Chavez sent $800,000 to Argentina to fund Nestor Kirchner's campaign. another leftist leader in Argentina.
Yeah.
So basically, all the planets aligned. All these leftist leaders took over power in South America. They all started doing dealings between each other, corruption cases, corruption dealings, and they made this. They even Chavez even created a news channel called Telesur, which is basically Reuters Today. It's very similar to to Russia Today.
Mm-hmm.
Russia's Putin's cable network.
Yeah, so Telesur is Venezuelan.
Yeah, Telesur it was actually an international project between several countries, but its headquarters were in Venezuela. So according to Telesur, if you tune in Telesur right now, they will paint you this picture of countries like Argentina falling apart, basically because Argentina is now ruled by Macri, which is a right-wing president. They will tell you this picture of Brazil falling apart because Michel Temer rise to power. They will paint you this picture of Ecuador falling apart because right-wing. There in Ecuador there's actually a left-wing candidate, but he betrayed Rafael Correa, and he's now doing dealings with the U.S. So they're painting this picture of all these countries falling apart, and that Venezuela is great, that nothing bad is happening here. So Hugo Chavez was really smart about it. And I think in the bigger picture, we have this very threat. I mean, we have this real threat of socialist politicians. They're all banding up together. They're all, doing shady dealings between each other. We have in Spain, we have Pablo Iglesias, which is a leftist candidate. And he paints himself as a people's man, as a regular citizen. But he has the same ideas as Hugo Chavez. They all want to nationalize all the companies. They want to forcibly acquire all the main companies in the countries, just so that they can start doing what Venezuela did back at the start of 2000. Look at the results.
Yeah. Look
at what's happening down here in Venezuela. The government is basically the owner of every big company down here. If you go to things like food distribution is controlled by the government. Oil extraction is controlled by the government. Electricity is controlled by the government. Water, basically every industry is controlled by the government.
All right, 1 second.
Because they just acquire everything.
So Eduardo, we have a call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Hello? Yeah, hello, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? Hello, can you hear me?
It's delayed, that's what.
Yeah, hello, caller, can you hear me? Well, I'll give you another second. If you're there, let me know. It looked like he hung up, so. But no, call back if you like, and then we'll try to get you on for a question. So, as we've been over an hour, so we're drawing towards the end of our conversation. So, I want to wrap up with basically, because you kind of gave me your thoughts on what you think is needed and you feel is going to be foreign intervention to really shift the country in a different direction. And so one thing that I've always been curious about is from, being above you guys, looking down, concerned, just because the show is called Rethinking the Dollar, because I believe in the long run, our country is going to experience similar fate, being that we are heavily indebted. The dollar has been it's been abused globally. And so one day I believe it will come to an end. And so I want to answer this call. Hold on 1 second. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello. Maybe not. All right. So we're not gonna have a call tonight. So I apologize for that. But so the whole program is Rethinking the Dollar. So I believe, and a lot of the viewers believe, that one day the dollar will experience similar fate as far as hyperinflation, because all empires come to an end, and we have ruled the world for several decades now. And so one of the things that I'm concerned about is that a lot of people there run towards dollars, and it looks like cryptos are a part of the economy there, so people are using that to save. As you mentioned, they'll get rid of Bolivars, but save dollars and save cryptos. Now, looking into our country, are there anything that you would say we have that might be similar that may concern you of our future? What's a Venezuelan's viewpoint on our country with Trump, the tariffs, how we're dealing with China, Russia? Give me your thoughts on your perception on us.
Well, the general population down here in Venezuela was very leftist, mainly because Chavez was so popular. He was pumping so much money in the streets, so people were starting to believe his thoughts. They were starting to believe his ideas. So, but as things started to worsen here, I've seen that a lot of people have shifted away to more radical right-wing ideals. I personally, I don't follow that much closely U.S. politics, but what I can tell you from experience is that Obama, he seemed like a guy who, I don't know if he ignored the Venezuelan situation or if he didn't want to confront the Venezuelan situation. But Trump seems like a guy who is more concerned what is going down here. It's not that I like him. It's just that he seems to be doing more to tackle the Venezuelan situation. Right. The Venezuelan situation is very important for the U.S. because we are, in the 70s, Venezuela was one of the few countries that was able to purchase F-16 airplanes, fighters. We had very good relationships with the U.S. Venezuela was basically the richest South American country. We had close ties with the U.S. and it is in the interest of the U.S. to have a healthy and allied Venezuelan country, so that they can, they have all their fronts secured. Particularly, I see with very I'm very careful. I'm very worried about some of Trump's ideals and some of the deterioration in the U.S. politics. Yeah. U.S. politics has become very polarized. We're seeing politicians throwing insults to each other. We're seeing, even the own president is resorting to basically bullying people on Twitter. I log in Twitter every day. It's the only social network that I use is Twitter, and I see Trump just bullying people, and it worries me. It's very worrisome. Yeah. To see U.S. politics. So my biggest concern with the U.S. is the U.S. will have to debase the currency. The only way for the U.S. to win the trade war against China is to debase the USD. There is no other way around that. There is no way to win a trade war against China without debasing the currency.
1 second.
So, yeah.
Okay, no, sorry. Go ahead. So we do have a caller. So caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
This is Josh from Washington State.
Josh from Washington State. How you doing this evening? What's your question for Mr. Eduardo?
Well, I just started listening to it not too long ago, but I'm not sure if you had already asked about silver, how it's compared or how it's risen in price or whatnot, or how, for goods and services.
You didn't be talking about down in Venezuela?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so he hinted on it, and so I can summarize that briefly. But basically, he's saying that it's not as accessible as it is here. So most people can't afford it if they had the funds for it. So as he mentioned, people are living basically dollar to dollar, and they're trying to get rid of Bolivars and save dollars as well as save crypto. So precious metals aren't really in the plans of a lot of people there unless you have funds.
Okay.
So it's
okay,
scarce.
Cool.
It's
and
scarce
what about
down there.
black market wise, and the border? Like I heard a lot of people was like trading with Colombia or trying to get things over the border. Like how's that?
Yeah. So there's this big black market for gold. I was talking about how gold mining is controlled by mafias, by cartels. Down here. The cartels, people are so desperate that they're going to the mines, illegal mines. They will extract the gold and they have to sell it because there's no other way. You have to sell the gold to the cartels because otherwise it will just kill you. So you have to sell the gold to them, and they set the price. They set the price, and they will earn a very, very good spread on that. And then they will smuggle the gold out of the country via Colombia, via Brazil. It's mostly about Brazil, or just flying it out to Europe, where it's more valuable. And then that's basically what's going down here with respect to precious metals. It's just about illegal mining, illegal extraction of gold and other valuable resources, and it's just black market all the way.
All right. Thanks for your call. I appreciate you calling, my friend. Thank you.
All right.
All right. We got one more call, Eduardo. Then we're going to sign off for this evening because we've been going, and we can probably go all night, but it's getting late. So we have one more call, and then we're going to sign off. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Pat from Alabama. How you doing? Let me turn this computer down.
Go ahead. What's on your mind, Pat?
Is there any border between precious metals and Venezuelans in the country?
Eduardo, can you hear him?
Can you please repeat the question?
One second. I gotta switch my little microphones here. Hello, Pat.
Precious metals
Pat,
for good.
I'm sorry, Pat. Repeat that question again.
Is there any bartering with precious metals between Venezuelans going on for food and whatnot?
Any bartering? Bartering.
Yeah.
What's the primary tool? Because I imagine it's not metals, but.
Yeah, sadly, there is no there. Sadly, people just transact between each other with bolivars or with dollars. Like I said before, I was talking about Bitcoin, and even Bitcoin is not being used to transact. Even digital currencies, they're not used to transact between each other. People mostly just use dollars, and if it is in cash, maybe with the Sale, which is a very popular application down there, a very popular app in the US. A lot of people, mainly rich people, citizens who were able to travel to the US, open bank accounts. They use, people sell dollars via Chase, via Bank of America. It seems like every rich guy in Venezuela has a Bank of America account or a Wells Fargo account. People just trade with dollars or bolivars. Sadly, I would love to see people transacting with gold or people using gold to store their wealth. But the reality is that very few Venezuelans have access to gold. And when things were better, when the economy was good, people didn't really have a way to purchase gold even if they had the money. Mainly because of the currency control mechanism. Even though gold is not a currency, you were not able to even buy online or something. I know that people sometimes buy gold coins or silver coins online, but in Venezuela that's just impossible.
Okay, fair enough. So Pat, thanks for calling in, my friend. I appreciate you chiming in.
I got one more question.
Yep, one more question. Go ahead.
One more question. When do the people get tired of this and take up arms and rectify their own situation?
Yeah.
Is there guns in the people's hands there, apart from the drugs and all cartels? No. Do the people have guns in their possession?
Sadly, the government did a very good job a very good job of disarming the population. Owning a gun in Venezuela legally, it's. I mean, you can have a gun, but there has been 2 years since the government enacted a law preventing you from carrying your gun. This is not like the U.S. where guns are readily available. Only criminals down here have guns and police officers. The general population is unarmed. The only people with guns are rich people who can hire private bodyguards, and in most cases the bodyguards are just ex-cons or criminals themselves. So the population is unarmed, and the population cannot stand. It's not like in the U.S. where you can buy like a semi-automatic rifle, and the government cannot ban guns because everyone just go crazy about it and defend their own rights via is it Third Amendment or the First Amendment? I don't quite remember.
Yeah.
But we don't have that here. Guns are virtually impossible to get unless you go to the black market and just purchase it from some criminal and have the serials deleted or something. It's impossible. So people cannot stand by themselves without risking their lives, and that really prevents a lot of people from going out of the streets. Back in 2016, we had a huge protester movement, and by the end of the year, more than 200 people, mostly young people, like 17-year-old kids, got killed over those protests. The government has made a very good job of arming its own civilians, who are basically an informal army, and
like a militia.
Is a political. Is basically the armed part of the political party. And these guys, they have freedom to commit crimes. They have the freedom to carry guns. They have the freedom to kill people when protests break out. It's very sad to see. It's happening right now in Nicaragua. It's happening right now. The president armed a lot of paramilitary, and these paramilitary are just people with access to guns and funding from the government, and they just go out and kill protesters in the streets. This is a Cuban imported model. These are guidelines that these leftist governments acquired through Cuba. These are guidelines. This is a script.
Yeah.
This is not these people didn't invent that. This is a script from Cuba.
Yeah.
This is what's happening down here, and I'm very worried that this may go widespread in other countries soon enough. Right. If these political extremists, these criminals, these narco terrorists arise in power in other countries.
Right. Fair enough. Well, Pat, thanks for calling, my friend. We're going to end it right here. I got one more question, then we're going to sign off. So, Pat, I appreciate you calling in, my friend.
All righty. I appreciate you. But, we had small groups that went after even smaller groups and got their arms. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, buddy. All right. So, we're going to draw towards the end. I have one last question. Or actually, I have two questions. I'm keeping it to one. And so, as I was hinting at before, we took a call. So I appreciate you guys for calling in and chiming in. And Eduardo, I appreciate you being patient with your time and sharing your story, as well as just what's happening in our area. And so one of the biggest thing is we hear about the problems, the government, crime, everything is starving the people. The people have no solution. So one of the things there, how could someone help and assist Venezuelans? Is there like funds or any programs, or how can viewers possibly reach out and help? I assume it has to be probably crypto based or something, but yet what are some recommendations, suggestions, and probably off air we can talk a little further and I can connect viewers in the future with it. But are there ways to be of assistance? Would it help people there?
Yeah, helping Venezuelans is really hard because the government has has made a very good job of preventing humanitarian aid. So you cannot send like medical supplies to Venezuela.
Yeah.
Because the custom officers will just steal it.
Yeah.
I think the best way will.
Sorry. Hello, you there?
I think that the best way is to just reaching out to your friends and see if you have, friends or relatives with family in Venezuela, and just sending them money, monetary donations. I think that's the best way to help.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's spearheading an initiative to set up a foundation. Basically, people are donating to him via crypto, via Bitcoin, and he's spending those. He's not physically located in Venezuela, but he has friends on the ground, and they receive these funds, and they just provide meals to children in need. And I think that's a very good initiative. Maybe viewers can help donate some funds, some spare cash there. I'll provide a link to you at the end of this. But I think the best way is just to reach out to your friends, see if they have Venezuelan relatives, and see if there's a way for you to just send a couple of dollars. A couple of dollars make a very great difference. $1 right now is worth 110 bolivars. 110 bolivars can buy you some stuff,
Yeah.
And people, when you take into account that Venezuela earns less than $1 per month of work, just a single dollar will make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So definitely reach out to your friends, see if you have Venezuelan friends, relatives with Venezuelan family living in Venezuela, and just donate money.
Right.
Any amount just counts.
Okay, fair enough. Now, as we draw towards the end, I appreciate everybody chiming in and all the viewers for the questions. And so one of the questions I want to ask, just because Ami is good with asking questions, and his question is, and I could probably answer this for you, but the day that the dollar does fail, then what will people, in your opinion, look to cleave towards?
Well, I guess
in your opinion, of course.
Yeah, maybe crypto, maybe gold. I don't know. As of now, I think people are more familiar with crypto than with gold, but gold is a timeless thing. I know this is a show for people who like gold. Like I said before, it's not that popular down here, but yeah, if the dollar fails, I guess people. I think the realistic scenario is just people moving to another currency, another global currency. Maybe the euro, maybe the yen, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
The yuan or something. If not, people just go to gold, or third case scenario, maybe they go to crypto.
Yeah.
There are alternatives to the dollar out there.
Right.
But I guess we will know for sure in a couple of years. Let's see how this trade war goes. But the scenario, most probable scenario, the government, the U.S. government has to debase the USD currency to fight against China. These are very interesting years to come.
Yeah.
A lot of political instability in the Middle East, proxy wars, Iran, Iraq. There's a lot of shit going on in the world. We know that. And as these conflicts become more and more complex. Just take a look at Syria. What's happening there? There's a lot of guerrillas. There's a lot of people with a lot of interest involved in there.
Yeah.
Russia, China, the U.S. There are complex times ahead, and I guess we all should have something with intrinsic value to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it will be gold. Maybe it will be crypto. Maybe it will be another cryptocurrency, another fiat currency. I don't know, but we all need to start looking up at alternatives.
Right.
I think one of the things that I like most about Bitcoin is that people with Bitcoiners, they have to start learning about how economies work, how currencies work.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, I didn't have a clue how currencies were. What was fiat? Where did money come from? These are questions that everyone should be asking themselves. These are stuff that should be taught in school. Our children should know where does money come from, where what is debt, why does the government create the currency, why does the government print the currency, what happens if the government prints more currency, what is inflation, and the consequences of printing money. We should be teaching this in the schools. In the schools.
Right. I do agree. I agree 100%. Well, it's been a great back and forth, and I'm excited to have someone in Venezuela now share his perspective in life. So I hope the viewers, hope you guys have learned something. Definitely give this video a thumbs up. Share this so your family and friends can learn about what's happening from someone who's there. And so we got the truth tonight delivered to us. So I appreciate you, Eduardo Gomez, for joining us tonight on a Friday night at that to stream live. And so I'm going to actually put your Twitter link down below so people can follow you on Twitter and stay connected, because I came across you based upon a lot of people retweeting something that you shared from your country there that was, it went viral. And so I'm like, hey, let me reach out to this guy. So thank you for sharing your experience and your time with me. Everybody have a good evening. Definitely, if you guys want, I'm going to find out more information on how to be of support to Venezuelans down there. And so I'll keep you guys posted. But other than that, enjoy your Friday evening, and I'll see you guys later. Make sure you guys click subscribe, thumbs up, and support the channel. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good evening.